I am with Roy Rickstrew, your disability rep. Good to see you as always.
Likewise.
We're going to jump into something we haven't discussed before, but it's on, I can't even imagine how many people's minds.
Oh yes, there's been a lot of noise out of Washington about trying to cut a bunch of entitlement programs.
Right.
Medicaid being in the forefront. Obviously folks are very dependent upon that program. It's a lifeline for a lot of people, and so there's always a lot of anxiety that causes when it's caused when they start talking about cutting eligibility for some of these programs. So.
Talk about some of those.
Yeah, so Medicaid in general is broken into a couple different eligibility criteria. So if you're aged, you're blind, you're disabled, there's a program for that eligibility group. Same thing if you're a child or a pregnant woman, there's eligibility specifically for those groups. And then we have a low-income program here in Missouri as well. It was part of the Obamacare stuff. They brought it in.
Yeah.
Adult expanded eligibility. And then here in Missouri, we also have an emergency Medicaid for ineligible aliens. And we have a program that can cover Medicaid, put Medicaid on prisoners in some circumstances as well.
Okay, those are all on the books in Missouri.
They are. And there's other eligibility criteria as well, but those are the ones that most people are going to encounter. There's some nursing home programs, there's some in-home health care programs, there's some other things that are out there too, but kind of our core Medicaid are going to fall in those groupings.
But I also hear you using the eligibility criteria. This doesn't sound like a cakewalk to me.
No, it's difficult to qualify for. Some programs are easier than others. They don't have near as much documentation requirement. For example, if you're disabled, you have to prove you're disabled with medical records. It's a bit of a process,
right? For
sure, much like disability is. But what's happened here recently is there's been a federal lawsuit. It was actually overseen by, I believe, Doug Harpool here in Springfield. Was an attorney for years, now he's a judge. And they really dinged the Family Services Office for delays in processing claims. Some cases were being automatically timed out and denied before they were even touched. There was a real problem with that. And so there's been a lot of emphasis and a lot of pressure on that office because of this federal
what's
lawsuit.
the outcome of having those kind of lawsuits out there?
We're all human. And so what happens is when we get a lot of pressure in one realm, we look for ways to kind of process other things quicker. And that's what's kind of happened over at the Family Support Division. We have an adult expansion eligibility group. It's easy to qualify for, hardly any documentary requirements. They look at income only, and they can approve somebody. And so what we've seen is the Medicaid office is throwing people on that program because it's quick, it's easy, and it's decent coverage.
Is it right, though?
Not always. There may be eligibility under one of these age, blind, or disabled programs, or even a child or a pregnancy program, but they're putting them on a program that's quick and easy to approve, makes the office more efficient, gets them a little breathing room from the federal lawsuit, but it's not always the right eligibility criteria for folks, not always the right program.
It sounds like there are a lot of bumps and hills and valleys. It's like it's not running smoothly.
Well, and that's kind of the case. That was the point of the lawsuit. That income-only Medicaid program that's easy to qualify for, it has the target on its back. When you hear folks in Washington talking about trimming the Medicaid program, trying to get people that are able-bodied off the Medicaid rolls, that's the program they're looking at. So there's a lot of people that are on that program that feel like they may be in danger. But the reality of it is there may be another program that they're eligible for. So even if that program does get trimmed, it may not be nearly as much anxiety production as what you might imagine, because you may just simply be able to roll to a different program.
Okay, what about efficiency here? Because you get a big, you have a big bureaucracy going. You get overlapping things where you don't have to be, this will take care of it, but you've got this and this.
Yeah, it's a process. If you're going to transfer from one program to another program, you have to go and encounter that bureaucracy firsthand. You have to refile, you have to work that out with the office, demonstrate your eligibility. It is a bit of a process. But I think if there's going to be cuts to the Medicaid program, we may see that prisoner and that ineligible alien program get trimmed. If you're a prisoner and you go in the hospital, it interrupts prisoner status and Medicaid can pay your bill. I can see that going away. I can see the alien program going away. Some Medicaid programs don't have a resource limit. Others have really high resource limits. We exempt $750,000 plus of the equity in your home. I could see that being trimmed back to something that was maybe a little more reasonable. I think there's room for this to be trimmed, but the core Medicaid programs have been around since 1973 at least. They're very rigid. They're written well in the regulations. I don't think those core programs are going to get touched, but I think some of these newer programs probably will.
So the best idea out of all of this that you're telling me is speak with someone who knows what's going on.
Yeah, so I do the Social Security disability, but I also have done a lot of Medicaid work in the past.
Yes.
I'm a licensed Medicare agent, and so having somebody that kind of understands the three programs and the way they interface with one another can kind of help you to make sure that you remain coverage and you don't get caught with your pants down. I mean, that's the big concern, right?
Well, best idea is don't panic.
Yeah, for sure.
Get the information. You're the person, a focal point of finding that kind of information. If people want to get in touch with you, want to know a little bit more, how do they do that?
Yeah, you can scan the barcode that's on the screen there. That goes to a scheduling app. You can schedule an appointment with me. You can call me also at the 417-812-6698, especially if you're on Medicare and Medicaid. Those programs oftentimes don't line up the way that they should. If you're in the wrong eligibility criteria, it can cost you benefits, and sometimes it can cost you money, and it's real important that that gets fixed and corrected. And like I said, having somebody that understands both programs, I think, is a big plus, and we're happy to offer that here at your disability rep.
Yeah, you need to call Roy and make him your disability rep.